Hello, and welcome to the 2017 edition of Smoke Signals. I'm your host for today's show, Lieutenant Chris Taylor from the LaGrange Fire Department. I am pumped up, and I hope you are too. We have a very special show today, and our special guest for the show is Fire Chief Tony Washington from the City of Decatur Fire Rescue Department. So as always, sit back, relax, because you're about to watch Smoke Signals. Hello and welcome back. Today we have with us a very special guest, the Fire Chief of Decatur Fire Rescue, Chief Tony Washington. Chief Washington, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here to come to LaGrange and be a part of our show today. And I know you have a busy schedule, but as always, you know, it's always good to have some new faces here in the LaGrange area. And of course, you know, with you being in the metro area, it's always good to share information because some of our viewing audiences are in the metro area. So it's always a pleasure to have someone here that can share some information, not only with our community, but the communities around the metro area. So thank you again for being here.
Well, I certainly appreciate the invitation.
Now, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how long have you been in the fire service?
So I've been in the fire service for 24 years.
Okay.
I started with the State Fire Marshal's office not long after getting my undergraduate degree. And from there, I went to one of the Metro Atlanta Fire Departments where I did most of my career.
Okay.
And from there, I went to the City of Decatur where I am now. I've been with the City of Decatur for 8 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Now, since we're talking about your involvement in the fire service, now there are some historical moments that have taken place in your career. After looking at your bio, you are the first African-American female to serve as fire chief for the state of Georgia. Is that correct?
Well, I'm the first African-American female to serve for the City of Decatur.
Decatur, okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I am the second in the state of Georgia.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, congratulations on that. Now, if you could just tell us a little bit about Decatur Fire Rescue, you know, personnel and the services that you all provide.
Okay. So the City of Decatur is a small community just east of the City of Atlanta. We're 4.2 square miles. We have 2 fire stations and 40 sworn personnel. We have a lot of formal public education programs, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little later.
Right.
And we have a very aggressive fire code and building code program, which have had very good success with our fire rate.
Okay. Well, sounds good. And I'm quite sure that it's not a dull moment there in the City of Decatur.
Absolutely not. We're very busy in the City of Decatur. We do a lot of things. We're not the what we call the traditional fire department. We really assist with everything. And I think our biggest emergency in the City of Decatur is down trees.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. And I think a lot of departments can relate to that, especially with the weather situations we've had, you know, over the years. And we're going to talk a little bit about weather here later in the segment. Now, we've spoken about your accomplishments as a fire chief, a female fire chief in the metro area. Now, for women in the fire service, if you could kind of touch on something inspirational that you would provide for the women who are in the fire service, and possibly, you know, women who might be interested in becoming, a firefighter in the fire service?
Absolutely. So there are about 300,000 firefighters in the country, or in the U.S., I'll say that. And of those 300,000, we only have 7,000 women. And statistics have shown that over the years, our numbers have been decreasing. And, I always talk to groups about the fire service, and I like to say it's the best kept secret.
Right.
Where can you go that you can work 10 days out the month and make a very good salary? And not everybody know about that. So, I encourage all people, but especially women, to really look at the fire service. I know that there are challenges related to the fire service with women because of child care issues and their responsibilities that they may have in the home. But one of the organizations that I serve as a trustee, iWomen, we've been looking at some issues and challenges that women face in the fire service and try to bring a network together to address some of those things. So I say to inspiring women and women that are currently in the fire service that, strive for high. Our numbers are down, but we do have women that have reached high levels in the fire service. Yes, when you say I'm the second African American female fire chief in the state, there have been at one time 5 in the whole country. There are over 20 women fire chiefs in the country. So, and we have a lot of chief officers and officers. So for those that are in the fire service, I would say, continue your path. There are obstacles, but you too can accomplish them. The ones that aspire to be in the fire service, I would say seriously look at it as a career. It's a great opportunity and you can do many things. There are many levels in the fire service. It's not just fighting fire. As we know, we have public educators, we have fire investigators, we have emergency medical technicians, we have the EMS section. We have so many different sections in the fire service that you're not limited to just fighting fire.
Sounds good. That was some great encouragement for women in the fire service, and that can be an encouragement for also males in the fire service as well too. So we appreciate you sharing that wealth of information. Now, when we're talking about fire and life safety in general, and in your opinion, why is fire safety education important to share with our community?
Well, education is the key. It shows that it reduced your fire risk. And I always like to say an educated community is a safer community. The more you know about preventing fires, the more you can prepare yourself and your family in the event that you have a fire. So we think education is definitely a key component in reducing your fire risk. The more you know, the better you are. And that's pretty much with everything. So you will see now that most fire departments are taking a avid role in increasing education, providing knowledge to the community. So, if there is a fire, they'll know what to do. And that save a life and reduce injuries. So
that's a key thing. And with me being in education myself, it's always important for us to let the community know about trends. But for the most part, education has been a battle for the fire service for decades. And we always have those same messages that we share with children and the general population, and it just seems like, we move forward in some areas, and in some areas it seems like we're just stagnant. We can't get further, but we have to continue with the educational effort, because like you said, education is the key, and it's an important part of what we do in the fire service to provide that service for our community.
So you talk about trends, and I totally agree with you. I think that you'll see now more fire chiefs that really push education. I think that our whole title of firefighters is perceived as this macho, okay, I want to go out there and get fires. But now, we talk about, yes, we're firefighters, but, we're in the business of preventing fires.
Yes.
If we need to extinguish a fire, absolutely, we can do that. But our business should be about preventing fires, because if we prevent fires, then that reduces our death rate, our injury rate. It helps the community most of all, versus us being able or having the ability to go and extinguish a fire. So, we don't want anybody to lose anything. And if there's a fire, you could possibly lose your life. You can lose property. You can lose those things that are dear to your heart. So we don't want that to happen. So, hopefully we can make that turn where we really focus on education and not necessarily just, what we do in the event that we have a fire.
Right, and one other thing that we want to just express is protection of our firefighters as well.
Absolutely.
All right, now you have many programs and organizations that you are connected to. Can you kind of tell us about some programs that you're very passionate about?
Yeah, so one of the programs that's dear to my heart is a program that we do in the city of Decatur. It's called CAPS. It's Community Citizens Assisting Public Safety. Okay, and so what that group does is, they take our education message to the community and their family members, and they also assist us with fire as well as police when we have incidents. They take blood pressures, they help with the events, because the city of Decatur is a city of events.
Right.
There's an event every month in the city of Decatur.
Right.
So they assist us with that. They install smoke alarms, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, and carbon monoxide detectors. They take blood pressures. They do all of this stuff to send our message and help with our mission to the community. So it's one of those programs that is very dear to me because it encompasses so much.
Right.
It's not just one thing. There are many organizations and other programs that we do, but this one seems like it just encompasses so many variables that we are at risk with in our community.
Sounds good, and you made a great point about having an organization that is an extension of the fire service that can go out and educate the community, because we can't do it all. We don't have the personnel most of the time, and then we still have to provide services when that alarm goes off.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a great program to have, and we wish you all well in continuing to create programs like that for the community. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more here on Smoke Signals.
If your world is controlled by alcohol, there is hope.
We're AA, alcoholics helping other alcoholics get sober.
You'll find us in the phone book, your local newspaper, or on the web at aa.org.
Welcome back. We've been talking with Fire Chief Tony Washington of the City of Decatur Fire Rescue Department. And Chief Washington, we've been talking about various things concerning education and things that the community needs to know, and talking about the fire service in general. Now, as we go back to the community, what are some major fire and life safety issues in the community, and what is the target audiences that's most affected?
So statistics show that the poor, the very young, and our older adults are mostly affected by fires. And this is due to numerous things. You know, education, not knowing how to prevent fires, and also not knowing what to do if you have a fire. With the very young, it's some of that, as well as they're very curious. So, you know, they don't understand the fire behavior and what fire actually can do to you. And then we have our older adults. So some of the leading causes of fires are still food on the stove, cigarettes, and you know, children or juveniles playing with fire. So those are some of the things that affect, are still key components of fire in the state of Georgia. And I did get some statistics from the State Fire Marshal's office, and I understand that in 2016, we had over 35,000 fires in our state. So although that number varies from year to year, it's still very high, and it shows us in the fire service that we still have a lot of work to do in our community.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. And, you know, when you talk about statistics and, you know, when you break it down from each jurisdiction, you know, some jurisdiction may have more fires and fire-related deaths and injuries than others, but one fire death and one injury is still too many.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so definitely we have to do more as far as trying to prevent, you know, those type of incidents occurring, especially to those target audiences, like you said, the children and adults, and, you know, and older adults, and that's where we spend a lot of our education practices at, because we know those are the high risk audiences, and we tend to put a lot of education there. Not saying that we overlook, you know, all the other audiences, but that's where we see our statistics continuously increasing, and we want to minimize that as much as possible.
Right. And, you know, just going with the trends now, we see that, you know, we have other avenues to educate our community now, such as social media. So you see now a lot of fire departments and agencies taking an active approach to fire prevention through social media. So, you know, that is one of the ways that we can get our safety message out to the community.
Right, exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, because, you know, it's not so much to be able to get out and do group presentations, but now with the addition of social media, you can reach a audience that you normally wouldn't reach, you know, one-on-one. So I'm glad you brought that information up. Now we're in the midwinter season, okay, and you know, winters in the state of Georgia can go either way. But we're in the midwinter season. What are some fire safety tips the community should be aware of?
Yeah, so, you know, you never really can tell with the state of Georgia when that season is. But matter of fact, this year we had it a little early. You know, we had it at the beginning of January, when usually we see our weather, or our cold weather in February. So I would say, you know, I would always encourage the community to make sure they have, if you have to have a heater, an external heater, make sure it's UL tested and it has that sticker on it. I would say stay away from those extension cords. You don't want your heater to be plugged to that extension cord. You want it in a socket. And always be present. Do not leave that heater unattended. Have a smoke alarm. You know, when you we always encourage, when you change your battery, when you change your clocks, change your battery. So always have that working smoke alarm. And don't take the battery out when you have that one cooking incident where you smoke up the house and the alarm keeps going off, and now you want to, you know, make the sound go away, so you take out that battery. So we encourage you to always have a working smoke alarm. And something that we've seen around the country and in the state of Georgia here lately is carbon monoxide odors. So we're encouraging everybody to get a carbon monoxide detector or CO detector. And be ready for those power outages. have that safety kit.
Yes.
You know, we would like for you to have a flashlight versus light those candles, because
Yes,
those candles
yes.
are very dangerous.
They are.
And, you know, they turn over easy, especially when it's dark and you can't see. You know, they're easy to turn over. So we encourage you to get several flashlights or lanterns, battery operated lanterns, and be prepared for those power outages.
Okay. And another thing, as it relates to the winter season, always monitor the weather.
Yes.
Whether it be your news outlets or having a weather-related radio, which is very, very common for a lot of people. And then there are people nowadays with the smartphones that have apps.
Yes.
And so those apps kind of keep us alert on, you know, when there's a weather threat coming in our area, and all sorts of other things too that those apps are very useful for. So always find yourself in a position to be in the know of what's going on as it relates to winter season related incidents, and we're going to talk a little bit more about weather here in a moment. But also another safety tip, and when you talked about the smoke alarms, now we, which they done a great favor for the fire service, is the lithium
Yes.
battery smoke alarm, so people can't go and take those batteries out. And I think it's a behavioral change.
Yes.
So that having those lithium type battery smoke alarms, which are supposed to be 10 years, but if we can get 6 years out of them or 5,
That's
that's good enough. That's one battery you don't have to change every so often.
Right.
And it does its job. So, but outside of the lithium smoke alarms, there's been problems with lithium batteries.
Yes.
And
yes.
let's kind of talk about that. You know, what have you seen, or what have been some incidents where lithium batteries have caused fires?
So, you know, something that a lot of people do, people that I know, and we always have to educate them, is they charge their cell phones up under their pillows. That is a bad practice, because your cell phones have lithium batteries in there. And that contact with a material which we call a combustible in the fire service can definitely cause a fire. So you don't want to charge your cell phone battery under your pillow. You want to be very cautious. And also, I think correct disposal of the lithium battery is very important. A lot of people like to put them in the trash with other things, and we find that there's some injuries related to that also. So you want to properly dispose of your lithium battery.
Okay. The lithium batteries, not only in your phones, but in your computers as well, can be very dangerous, and some signs that you're having problems with your lithium battery could be the odor.
Yes.
Change in color.
Yeah.
Also, it could be, you know, you start feeling too much heat. You know, you plug your cell phone up and it's like, well, it's just been plugged up for about 5 minutes and it's hot. Why is it doing that? So be mindful of those kind of things. And if you got some odd noises going on, you definitely want to make sure that you take heed to those things, because a potential fire can occur.
Right. And something else that also occurs quite often is, you know, we use charging devices to charge our cell phone that does not come with the cell phone. There are these off brands and these alternative brands that you use, and you know, the manufacturer of your phone always recommends that you use the approved charging device for their product. So I would strongly encourage people to adhere to the manufacturer recommendation, because using using unapproved cords can contribute to fires as it relates to lithium batteries.
Definitely. Now, one subject we want to kind of touch on deals with apartment buildings. Now, explain how important it is for residents to have a fire escape plan and become familiar with the fire alarm system in apartment buildings.
Yeah, it's very important, and I think that sometimes in apartment buildings or even the workplace, people take the fire alarm for granted.
Yes.
Because we have so many alarms or false alarms in those buildings that people just don't adhere to some of the warnings when the alarm goes off.
Yes.
I would say anytime your fire alarm goes off, whether you're in an apartment building or at work or in a big facility, exit the building. Always have an escape plan. For buildings that you're not quite familiar with, as you enter the building, you always look for that escape route because they have to, by law, have them posted. So look at that escape route and understand or make sure you know the exits that you can utilize to escape or get out of any building in case an alarm goes off. And when that happens, get out.
Exactly.
And for your residential properties, I would say have an escape plan for your residential home. You never know where a fire can start, and you don't want family members to spend time looking for each other and put their life at risk. But if you have this meeting place and also identify at least 2 ways to get out of your home, then your family is a lot safer in the event that there is a fire in your home.
Okay, good information. And real quick, severe weather awareness tips. We've been dealing with severe weather here in our community, and around the state and other regions of the country. So just real quick, just some severe weather awareness tips you could share.
So I would say that, you want to always be aware of what's going on as it relates to the weather. If you're told to stay off the streets, I would say stay off the streets. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Yes.
Okay? You want to have that emergency kit in the event that you do lose power. You want to have a weather radio. So in the event that you lose power, or just so you can keep up with what's going on. All of the weather radios usually have a warning device, so if there's a tornado or something else, the siren will always go off, or the warning will go off on the radios to alert you that something's near. And I would say, one of the biggest things that we deal with a lot is, flooding. Flooding is definitely a weather event.
Yes.
And when you see that big puddle of water, don't take a chance.
Yes.
Go around. We found that, sometimes those puddles are a little deeper than they appear to with the naked eye.
Right.
And it's just not worth taking a chance.
Sounds good. And definitely be vigilant when weather is in your area at all times. Well, Chief Washington, we definitely appreciate you taking time out of your schedule again to be here with us today and sharing this wealth of information. And we look forward to possibly having you on the show again in the future.
Well, thank you.
And we're going to take another quick break, and we'll come back. We'll close out.
Teaching a kid football is one thing. Keeping a kid in school, that's the name of my game. My name is LaDanian Thomason. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Welcome back. We want to once again say thanks to our special guest, Fire Chief Tony Washington from the City of Decatur Fire Rescue Department. And hopefully she was able to share some information with you that was very beneficial, whether you're in the LaGrange area or the metro area as well. And also, we'd like to thank you, our viewing audience, for watching another segment of Smoke Signals. Until next time, take care.